Well, okay, so in theory, it is now recording. So we'll see how this goes.
Hang on one sec. I'm going to shut this door.
Yeah, I can hear a whole bunch of John in my headphones. Well, I mean, it's crazy echo. It seems like we're too close, but
Yeah, there's a little bit of a time delay because it's going through Zoom and then coming back.
I don't hear an echo over here.
Yeah, I don't hear one either.
Because
I think
he can hear literally John.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's because we're in the same basic room. So,
yeah, if you just stop talking, John, I think that'll fix all the problems.
Oh, wait. Oh, but okay. All right. So, well, let me just do a quick lead in here, just in case this all does work, so we can put it all up, and we'll see how this goes. So, welcome back to the Flatirons Syndicate Motorsports Podcast. This is episode 19, and we've got with us here Brian from DSX Motorsports, Tasso from OTC Racing, Viet, Nigel, Scotty from the shop. Viet's at 919 Garage. Nigel is WX Buddy. We got Scotty down here, Scahate, on the Instagrams. So we're trying something a little different. We've got everybody together in a Zoom call, even though most of us are in the same building. Not all of us are. So we're trying to record it. And if this all goes really smoothly, then you might actually see this up on YouTube as well. But we're trying to record the podcast this way. And if nothing else, this is going to make it easier for us to kind of get everybody together. So this should help us record the podcast a little bit more and more regularly, just to keep things going here in the winter months, as well, with the COVID situation being what it is, and with people traveling, as some of us on this podcast are about to set off to another out-of-state track day. So, DSX, as you have not been on the podcast recently, we did just one podcast this year so far. That was with Tasso a couple weeks ago. We haven't talked to you in a couple months. What's been going on? Anything new and exciting?
Yeah, so I think the newest thing I've been doing is I started working with the track at Pikes Peak National Raceway, helping them kind of get their motorsports fleet back in the check, and kind of been hanging out there. You know, I do the RV thing, so I've been able to stay here and give me the flexibility to travel when I want to travel, like maybe in a couple of weeks. And awesome. I think the other thing that's kind of happened, it's not that big of a deal, is I bought an old Super Takaiu endurance race car, which is a Subaru. So
that's what I was hoping you were going to say, because that is, I think that's the more exciting part of it.
Absolutely.
So what can you tell us about this? What did it do? What is Super Taiku, and yeah, just give us the details.
So it's a Super Taiku, really is basically mean super endurance. So it's an endurance racing series they have over in Japan with a bunch of different classes. Like I think now there's even classes for TCR cars and stuff. But it's an endurance racing series where these cars are factory-built race cars for different classes. So this car that I bought is an ST2 class car, which is between 2,000 cc's and 3,500 cc displacement. I don't know what other limitations there were back in 2005 when the car competed, but it's pretty much a stock power plant car with all the trick little racing goodies.
Interesting. Okay. So it's a race car, and it's modified to be a race car, but it's like kind of halfway in between like a full-on crazy build race car and like something you would find on the street.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a non-bend Subaru that Prova built for them. I think they actually started the build in 2003, and it's kind of taken on a couple different versions until the yellow with the current facelift it's got now.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was actually a car from Subaru that was given over to a company that was actually built for this racing series.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
and
so that's what you mean by non-VIN, right?
Right, yeah, non-VIN, so that it's not stamped. There's no VIN plate on it. Even on the firewall, there's nothing on it. So it's it's like a factory white body car, essentially.
That's cool.
Now, is that going to be legal for like, is it legal for NASA if you wanted to run like an ST class in NASA because it doesn't have a VIN?
I haven't looked that deep into it, but I think so because I think NASA is based mostly on production built units. It might not be a VIN car, but it's still like an Impreza in almost all the ways.
Okay. Well, and I guess just first point of clarification, this is not to replace the blue car. This is in addition to the blue car.
Right. Yes. So what the blue car is kind of taken on, as you guys know, and as the listeners probably know, taking on this like crazy, big tires, moderate power, kind of like the fastest lap, but it's also like almost all fiberglass and in a lot of ways kind of like a splinter, like if you look at it the wrong way.
Yeah.
So that car, I never really wanted to do wheel-to-wheel racing with that car. And it's also expensive, it's expensive to run. We finally are starting to get over our engine problems, but it's had engine issues, and it's just not, I think trying to do, something with that much power in that car isn't something I really want to do with wheel to wheel. It's something I want to like optimize for, fastest lap. So this new car, the yellow car, the super tight car, it's mostly for trying to do club racing and endurance racing with it, but keeping it pretty much at its stock power plant.
Okay. So wheel to wheel is the plan for that. More, it's set up for endurance, so you're going to use it as such, and then just make the blue car the time attack fast as you can be car. Well, that's a pretty good situation to be in, I'd say.
I watched your video on it, and I have a bunch of like technical questions to ask about it. But first, I want to ask you. I was looking at social media one day, and you posted up a picture of that thing, and that's the first thing I'd ever heard of it. So where did you find it? How did you go about getting it? It was a non-VIN car in Japan, and now all of a sudden it's hanging out in Colorado Springs. So what all happened in the middle there?
So I've been able to piece some of its old history together. And so the company like HPI, which does like RC cars, and X-Mod was like a spinoff of them and stuff we've all seen the X-Mod cars when we were younger. I think the owner of that company brought it stateside. I think it spent some time in Europe for a little bit for some promotional stuff. And then eventually it was in the US, and I don't know how long ago that was. That's what I've been told from people who reached out to me 2 years ago or so, 2018. It was on wirewheel.com, which is kind of like, I guess, a place where some used race cars kind of like bring a trailer go to sell, A good friend of mine, Ryan Stewart, bought the car in 2018 with plans to, do GLTC with it, get it back out in exposure and stuff with the car. And he ended up passing away last year and got hit by a drunk driver. So the car went to another, like a mutual friend of his and mine, named Daniel Escobar, and he was kind of working through the estate of all the cars and the houses, and I'm sure it's a bloody mess, but that guy Daniel reached out to me about a month and a half ago and said, "Hey, are you interested in this car? Like, you don't want it to really go to." Ryan never really wanted to go to a museum or anything. He really wanted to drive the car. Like, you're in the Subarus. Like, is that something that you'd be interested in? And I said, "Man, dude, that would just be awesome." So that car was actually up in Thornton, Colorado. So it was about a 2-hour drive in the RV and the trailer.
Oh, wow.
And I checked it out and picked it up, and now it's back in the Springs. So it's been in Colorado for about a year, and at least been within this like small circle of people I know for about 2.5 years.
Wow.
Cool.
Okay. As
It's a
often
shame
happens.
but it's cool that the car is going to get used, right? I mean,
For sure.
Yeah. There's a lot
that thing
of
should not be in a museum or it needs to be on track. It needs to be driven.
I think it's one of those things. So this car won its championship series in 2005. And then in 2006, they dressed it up to race. I don't know if it raced in 06 or not, but the last year that it raced, it won the Super Takaiu Endurance Series in its class. So I think the biggest thing about the car, it's not like a museum quality car. It doesn't, like, not everybody knows about it, but with HPI and all the stuff that they did promoting the car in the early 2000s, a lot of people do know of the car. So I think it sits better for the car to actually go out and do stuff than it does to sit in a museum somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the thing that people forget with the race car is, a lot of times they are not like perfect. This is not something that's going to win like a concours d'elegance or something like that. It's used, it does work. So like to make it like perfect and pretty, I mean, that would be a crazy amount of work. Or if you want to just go out there and keep running it, that actually probably is a much easier thing to do, and that's what the car was built to do. So that's what it should keep doing.
Absolutely.
Very cool, man. It's crazy to think that it's been sitting here in Colorado, and here or there for a couple of years now without really kind of coming out and seeing the light of day. But I think a lot of like race cars ends up being what they do. They just kind of they move around in the background, and then they just kind of show up at the track here and there.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Now, what else have you found that's like the welded subframes to the chassis? There was some stuff in there that's just like, I mean, it kind of boggled the mind. Like, really, you guys welded the subframes to the chassis? Like, what else have you found on that car that's just kind of like really tweaked your noggin?
I think like the control arms, like there's like stock control arms. I think the whole suspension idea, like alignment wise, in that car is different than kind of like what our ideas have been. Being caster over camber, dynamic camber changes and stuff. Like this car is just like straight, tons of camber. It's like slammed, tons of camber. I mean, it's on like top hats and stuff, which you guys probably seen, but I think a lot of the work that they've done in that car is in stuff that you can't really see, like if they change the pickup points in the subframes, because the subframes there's something strange about them, like something not quite right with them, and so like the control arms are 100% flat, even though the car is slammed, but it's got 2-inch tall like ball joints and just wild stuff like that. Like they spent a lot of focus on that car, even though they're using a lot of factory parts, on suspension geometry, and it's just there's probably so much into that you can't even see,
Right.
Have you been able to drive it like fully in anger yet? Does it?
I've driven it. Oh no, not in anger yet. The car has right now, it overheats like after 2 or 3 laps. And I say overheats, I mean it's all in Celsius. So like when the red light starts blinking at me, I'm like, okay, we gotta pull off. But I mean, I haven't really gotten to go through like all the cooling stuff and make sure that the fluids are 100%, other than checking the oil before I've been driving it. So I think that could be part of it, because the radiator system, it's super wild. Like it's super low. It's got bleed screws all over it and stuff. And so I imagine that cooling system is really hard to get the air out of it. And so that's just, I got to go through that and see if that's what the problem is. But so I haven't really pushed the car super, super hard. I have done some laps of PPIR, and everybody's familiar with the dip, that's on the bank oval, and going through it about 90, 95 miles an hour. It's wild how, like, with how stiff the car is going through the dip, how like compliant the car is going through it. And I think a big part of that goes into that, like the effort that they put in that suspension geometry to keep everything nice and flat.
Yeah, it's sort of what I was wondering, is if there's an obvious, like, to you feel the benefit of their, factory effort of, geometry tweaking.
I mean, you can definitely tell versus even when my WRX is on 255s, you can tell that there's a big difference in how the car feels, like even in your hands. And I think a big part of that is that extra effort that company went through to get the suspension like geometry in a happier place, whereas we're kind of like working in a compromised place, but we're kind of like working with it. Like, okay, we're going to take a loss here, we're going to bump this up there, so you can definitely feel that difference. I mean, and the big part, my car has way better low speed grip than this car does. So like taking that tight turn and PPIR, the car wants to understeer and then hooks up. Whereas the Subaru, my WRX, does that just really good. But on the oval through the bump, it's way more dramatic in the blue car than it is the yellow car.
Interesting. Well, and one of the coolest things about buying an actual like developed and used race car is you're kind of getting to, basically like cheat off of another team in a way. Like you're seeing what all they did. So like there'd definitely be a value in trying to figure out like really what they did to that suspension geometry. Like, okay, take measurements. Like did they move mounting points? Did they adjust things? Like did they shim stuff? What did they do to get it to be where it is? Because figuring out the difference between your blue car and the yellow car, I mean that could really shed some light on like what they figured out that works.
Right, absolutely.
That's very cool. Well, what else? Any other wild details? I mean, I know that the fuel cell seems to be a little bit wild, because it's set up for like the race refueling where you can just come up with the fuel jugs and just dump, I don't know, 20 gallons of fuel into the cell in no time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty massive tank. It's a custom built cell from Fuel Safe, which is pretty cool. It's carbon fiber. It's got like a ton of openings, which is going to make it to be a huge pain in the ass to get a new bladder, like an actual SFI certified bladder for it.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things is that thing has got 4 fuel pumps, and they don't all run at the same time. I don't know how to turn them on or off. Like there's 4 switches on the dashes that aren't labeled but don't change anything. And I think, and they're Bosch 44s, which is probably not ideal in this day and age with how far technology has come, Yeah. But the idea was that, you lose a fuel pump and another fuel pump comes on. And it was never like that whole fuel system was built around no problems, going, hours at a time without any issues, but being able to supply the amount of fuel and stuff that those cars need, being driven in anger.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, endurance racing, it's a whole different, you have to keep going. You have to keep the car running. And so, the design around that, the concessions you make around that, it's a different set than like a sprint car would be, or a time attack car.
That's the other thing that stood out to me in your video. And it's worth saying that everyone should go check out your video on your YouTube channel, because it is actually a good walk around. But the amount of cooling on the car, like the two things it looked like they were most modified about this car, obviously some suspension work done, but then redundancy after redundancy, especially like with the fueling, and then cooling everywhere. Everything had extreme amounts of cooling, from differentials to transmissions to everything. So it was that stood out to me in the video.
Yeah, because there's a rear diff cooler, right?
Yeah, there's a rear diff cooler. There's an oil cooler.
Yep.
There's a factory power steering style cooler, and then I think there's even a fuel cooler even built into it. And a lot of that's all basically like the ARC cooling package.
Okay.
And it's pretty wild. I mean, like Tasso was saying, it's like some suspension, a bunch of cooling, and a bunch of fuel, but on an otherwise relatively stock power plant car.
And a crazy cage that wouldn't be legal for anything here in America.
Dude, some of it is so beautiful. Like you look at like in the fronts, and I didn't really get good pictures or videos of it. And but like where the front down joints are and the front stays, and it's really like a bar that runs between the backside of the strut towers through the firewall, and it pokes out some on the like the engine side, and it pokes out some on the interior side, and like all of that stuff is beautiful. But like there's 5 or 6 inches between the roof and the cage, like just how much the roof has to crush before you get to the cage. Yeah, dude, it's super. It's like some of it's super beautiful and some of it's hella sketchy.
Well, and it just blows my mind, like that, that's built as a race car in Japan, and Japan does not pay a whole lot of attention to FIA standards for safety.
Yeah.
You look anywhere else in the country at like what FIA standards, whether it be rally racing or IMSA, you name it. And then you look at that cage and you're like, what the hell were you guys even thinking? Like that B pillar, where the B pillar stays come down and then bend.
Yeah.
Is just like,
well, they're like floating, right? Yeah.
Well, they're not really floating. They actually bend down to another support.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain without actually looking at it, but it is.
Yeah, you're not going to see that You're not going to see that in any other car with a cage, I don't think.
Yeah, definitely not in the U.S. I mean,
No.
there's more bends in the main hoop than it's allowed. There's not a crossbar or no cross support at all. Like that's what's I'm super crazy. Like sitting in the car, it feels like you're sitting in like an egg, like you're a yolk inside of an egg, and the cage is like this really thin protective layer all around you. But an egg is strong, you know, when you in certain areas, but it's really weak in others, and so it's kind of scary. Like that's like pretty much like a one impact, one accident car. You know, whereas like some of the rally cars, even the rally cars that you guys have been able to take, you know, a few rollovers before they've really been out of commission.
Sure. Well, and it's
just
from a
what it
different
is.
time as well, you know. I mean, there's been a lot of changes since that car was built. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
but FIA standards for roll cages, those have been around. They haven't changed the design of the main hoop for 20 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and this was
1999, I think.
Yeah. So, and this was 2006. So, they had time to look what the rest of the world was doing, and they just refused to.
Yeah.
Well, but that's something that you're going to address it though. Like your plan is not to run it as that. It's to probably take the cage out and rebuild it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, doing so, this event that we have coming up in a couple of weeks, we're going to change some of the safety aspects. Like the seat belts are really sketch. They literally go straight down to the rear floor plan, and there's literally like a crossbar that's built into the strut towers. You know, like it just makes more sense to put it. So there's going to be small stuff that we change coming up very shortly. But yeah, before we get into really doing what that car was doing in Japan and doing that stateside, it's got to have like a full safety rework, you know. Needs a cage. It needs like a real cage too. Like I talked with Brian Acton at the donut shop when I bought the car, like, hey, like how screwed am I on this? Is this fixable? And am I paying too much? And he's like, it's not fixable. You have to cut it all out. If you don't get that car, everyone's going to hate you. I'm like, okay. So we, but you know, he and I talked, and like we could go with the simple cage, kind of like what's in my blue car. It's just like your basic NASA 6-point cage, not super expensive, and get the car back out going again. Or we could build it something like what Scotty has in his car, where you're not just limited to just basic SEC stuff. Maybe if it's something up and you want to do a hill climb, then you can do a hill climb in the car, or you can do I say pavement hill climbs, Tasso, don't get too excited. But, you know, anything else that the car would want to do, like an FIA cage is going to be a better investment in that chassis than just a standard NASA 6-point. So
sure,
that's the route we're going to try and go.
Like grid life touring car require?
A NASA style 6-point. Yeah. Like what's in my blue car. But if you want to do like something crazy, like 25 hours of Thunderhill or something really wild like that, then you need more. You know, you really do need more.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Lemon's capable? Is it cheap enough?
God. It's probably safer right now than most Lemons cars I've ever been in.
Well, that's good. That's something at least.
Yeah, it's probably not happy for a Lemons car anyway. I mean, as far as the hood is like a one-off unique carbon fiber piece. The front bumper is a unique one-off carbon fiber piece. So yeah, not super happy for for stuff like that.
Get punted by like a Datsun pickup with a rooster on the roof, and then never get the car back together.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, cool.
Yeah, it'd be pretty. Sorry, I'm giving my dog some water.
Oh, that's okay. It's worth mentioning that, like, if you're going to build a race car, I mean, these are some of the things that you want to like think about, like with the cage design. You know, if you build the car with the cage, and putting a cage in is not a small undertaking. I mean, it's even if you do especially if you're doing it yourself, it can be a lot of time, a lot of investment. But if you build to a minimum standard, then that might actually prevent you from using the car for more things that maybe have like an FIA required cage or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a big part of this is about opportunities and doing stuff that, opening doors that maybe I wouldn't have had in the first place,
Sure. Yeah. So you definitely want to like get it built back so that you've got the maximum opportunity to use the car for whatever you want to do with it down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
And
it's
that's
rad.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and so that just to be clear, so you're going to go to Super Lap Battle in Coda, at least that's the plan, right?
Yes, sir. Yep, we're
That's awesome.
registered for Super Lap. I talked with Jason Deinhardt, and he wants, like, I told him, I was like, this is going to be super cool. It's super exciting. So this is going to be the first U.S. competition event that this car has ever been in. I'm sure it's done. I'm assuming it's probably done some lapping days. I have definitely seen videos of it or pictures of it doing like cars and coffee and stuff in Florida and California and stuff. But this is for sure the first U.S. competition event this car's ever been in. And
Cool.
GTA, or Global Time Attack, has a class that's specific for this stuff. Like, they run a class called Pro-Am, and that class is literally a class that's built for kind of cars like this, VIN-less, retired race cars that can kind of compete against each other. It's kind of more of like for the guts and glory than it is for like actually winning anything. But
Sure.
there's, for an example, Nick Bright has got a retired N1 Spoon endurance car that he runs in it, and it's got the full Spoon livery and everything. And so there's cars like that.
That Spoon Accord?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That car's super cool.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of fun because I don't know what year that Accord is, but it's probably a similar era. But that car is kind of racing in the same era that this Subaru that I just got was racing. Both Japanese-built race cars, factory-built race cars. His car, I've already talked with him. His car's already been recaged and has all the updated safety and stuff. So, but it'll be super exciting to have those two cars together at that event at America's Racetrack.
That's cool.
So I'm super excited about it, and I think everybody is with the Super Lap Battle and Global Time Attack organization is excited about having those cars there as well together.
Sure. I mean, you cannot pick a better place to kind of debut the car, shake it down, basically take it out and have some fun with it for a weekend.
Yep, for sure.
That's awesome. Well, very cool. Well, I mean, maybe at this point it would be good to say, or just to have a little conversation about what are kind of some of the things on the horizon for this year. Because again, like this is really the first time that we've all sat down in 2021 at this point, and it's still the winter. Man, it seems like half the country is buried in about a foot of snow right now, but it is a new year, and race season is going to be here at some point in the not too distant future. So what do you guys have on the agenda? What are you kind of looking forward to this year?
Who wants to go?
We're going to drive cars, hopefully fast.
Hopefully fast, yes.
Tough guy hanging out back, smoking a cigarette.
Yep.
I kind of like this whole thing of doing it on the phone.
I hope that you post the video and not just the audio, because Scotty's just looking like a backgator over there. Got his hood up. Look at that.
He has taken advantage of the mobile medium for sure.
I mean, not to toot anyone's horn, but I figured I'll just jump in. I mean, I'm running the SCCA time trials program locally, and running the NASA. I'm the NASA time trials director locally for Rocky Mountain. So there'll definitely be a big, heavy play in my my presence in Colorado motorsports this year, and helping make sure everything goes smooth. Trying to drive some excitement behind the programs and get some new blood in too, like for the SCCA is a big deal, and keeping people happy, like with NASA, and kind of taking the experience of doing time trials all across the country with different organizations and try and see if we can curate a better experience. But I mean, outside of that, we've got, CODA in a couple of weeks. I really want to get the blue car back up and going to take it back to SCCA Time Trials Nationals and go and just lay the smackdown on Unlimited and actually win Unlimited 2 this year instead of like shaking my fist at with the second place. So, and then whatever, there's other events that we got sprinkled out there, and maybe NCM, Utah, just kind of peppered all over, but mostly Colorado for me.
So
I'm curious, with your like Rocky Mountain time trial involvement and doing some SCCA stuff, I'm planning on doing snowcross up in Carbondale in like late March, something like that. Are you going to be involved with that? Are you putting that on, or or what?
So Paul's putting it on. I think it's scheduled right now is March 13th. I don't know if that's a concrete date yet, but March 13th to the 20th. And I'll probably be help running it. I don't know if I'll be help. I'm not doing any of the organization or anything like that I'm aware of. But I'm going to try and bring one of my BMWs up to play in the snow as well. But yeah, hopefully help run it smoother. I'm sure Paul's going to have to volunteer some people like Brett and stuff to get some of the sanctioning issues worked out with the SCCA right now. So
Cool. I'm planning on. I did hear the date just got changed, like I don't know, 2 days ago. So
yeah,
I think it's now that March 13th date or
yes, sir.
something.
Yep.
So I'm planning on doing that. That will be my first snow event in this car. I'm kind of
yeah, it'll be
curious,
fun.
even if it'll start that cold and stuff like that.
Well,
I'm bringing
this
a
is in
generator.
this
So
is
I have a
March. I
block
mean,
heater.
who knows? Who
I
knows if
mean,
there'll be snow on the ground?
like in between Aspen and Glenwood Springs. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think one time I had to start my car and drive it to the track because it was so cold. Start my car and I drove it an hour and a half with the car just idling on the trailer because it was such a bitch to get it to start. Knowing I had to drive within the first 40 minutes of being there.
Wow.
I have
That could be you.
like a
That could be
small
you, Tasso.
generator. I have a generator and a block heater on the car, so I'm thinking I'll just start the generator for the whole drive up there.
There you go.
And that way the block heater will be warm by the time I get there.
Yeah. That's awesome.
We'll see.
Well, so Tasso, what more do you have on the horizon for this year, or is it still kind of a little too up in the air?
So everything, I think, as long as the pandemic is ongoing, is always going to be up in the air, right?
Yeah.
But at least right now, there are official schedules out. I'm planning on that snow cross in March, probably a rally cross, maybe a weekend or two after that, just to kind of get back on dirt a little bit. And I think it'll be at PPIR, if I'm remembering that correctly, too.
Okay.
I don't know, Ryan, if
Yeah.
you have something to do with that,
Yeah,
too. Or...
I think so. I think the Colorado Rallycross is putting that on, and I know the lot. I don't know if you're familiar with that back area, but it's that back dirt lot, not on the actual track, like the dirt track that's back there.
Where it used to be years ago. Do you remember? I mean,
I've seen some of those videos where they did the combo where it's like pavement and dirt. Yeah, so it's going to be on the dirt over there, kind of the stands side of that autocross lot.
Yeah, cool. So I'm looking. I mean, it's always good to kind of shake that out, and there'll be a couple of small changes on the car. So Rallycross is what it is, but it'll be a good chance to kind of drive around and put the car through the paces a bit. But then I go out to California for a Lemons race, of all things.
Oh, fun.
In the beginning of April. And then I have a couple weeks to get things back together and get myself sorted, because in May, the hill climbs start. There's 5 hill climbs on the schedule this year. So we'll see. Hopefully they all happen. The first one's at kind of high altitude and kind of early in the year. So we'll see if it's going to happen with snow and stuff like that. But there's that. I think I'm hoping to make it back out to Alpine Horizon, the Grid Life event.
Nice.
And maybe there's an opportunity. I'm always pushing to try and get their little rally sprint stage into an actual competition rather than just a little show off.
Gotcha.
But even if it doesn't, I'm always happy just to show off instead. We had a pretty good engagement and response last time when we were out there.
Nice. Very cool. So mainly like some other events, but mainly try and get back into the hill climb season as long as they can get it all to work this year.
Yeah, I'll consider it a successful year if I make it to 4/5 of the hill climbs.
Nice.
Hey, that's good, man.
That's 80%. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Make another video or something, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
For sure.
But
that's
ways and some stuff. Trying to do a little bit more bike racing this summer also.
Oh wow. Get back into that. Nice.
Get back on 2 wheels. And
practice on 2 wheels to be ready on 4.
Yeah.
Nice.
Have fun.
Well, Viet, how about you? You got anything on the horizon for this year, or is it too early to tell?
It's all up in the air right now. might be doing a video with Tasso. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
I'm building a drone, hopefully, for that video, maybe.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
So it'll keep up with his car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my main focus, is trying to get this drone thing going on. And then possibly K-swap?
For the Civic?
Dang!
Ah, okay.
Got
Maybe.
the dogs excited about it.
Dogs love K-swaps. That is well established.
Yeah, maybe that. Maybe all-wheel drive K-swap. We'll see.
What?
Yeah.
What? I sit
yeah.
right next to you. How's this the first I'm hearing of this?
Well, I
Because you
mean,
don't
like,
listen very well, because we've been talking about it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we have.
You got me. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely on the plate. Is
So this is
trying
all
to get.
this is all for the Civic race car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's broken right now.
Right.
So, I mean,
Sounds like good time to all-wheel drive
K-swap would be fun, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
All-wheel
K-swap
drive would
everything.
be fun. You know.
Yeah.
So why the fuck, or why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, why the fuck not, Viet?
There's that E right there.
There's the E. There's the E.
Are you
Yeah.
giving speaks of the new Pikes Peak car livery back there? Is that what you're doing?
Looks
I
like he's
think-
doing fire suppression.
He's doing fire suppression.
Fire
Scotty
suppression right now.
got tired of sitting, and as often happens. So
Does everybody know what the Flatirons facility, like what your shop there looks like? I mean, you have an opportunity here if we post this video. If we don't, it'll be a really weird podcast to just have
So-
a guy walk around.
Are we showing the new livery yet?
I don't. Well, maybe give a hint, but I wouldn't show the whole thing.
And
just
so, there's a car.
Yep.
And here's
Yes.
we have
Whole bunch of hoses.
we got so much shit going on. We got dry sump stuff. We have fire suppression stuff. We have water sprayer stuff. I mean, yeah, we got fun stuff going on.
Now it has to be a video and not a podcast because otherwise that'll be a weird minute.
Well, I think people are used to weird minutes. Listen to the podcast at this point.
Right.
We're not exactly sorted out.
No. Well,
No.
and I think we talked about it maybe last time, Scotty, or at some point, but maybe not. I mean, your car, you're getting ready for the season, and we're working again the Pikes Peak car ready for the season. Of course, Pikes Peak is the big push for that car, and then we'll see what happens after that. But you're pretty much set for NASA this year, right?
Yeah, just another full season of NASA time trials. In between, always trying to build something
Sure.
for one of these two cars.
Well, Nigel, how about you? What have you got on the agenda for the year, or do you know yet?
So, the car was going to be ready for the season, and then somebody here may have talked me into buying a new turbo. And
Darn it.
Actually, I think
yeah,
multiple
turbo?
people here talked you into buying a new turbo.
yeah. I'm gonna jump over to the Roger Clark RCM 400.
Cool.
Give that a try. We were looking at everything about the car and just realizing like I didn't hit full boost until like 5,600 RPM.
On a
And
2.5
so-
liter.
Yeah.
Damn.
So just the more I thought about it, the more I was kind of like sick of that. So we're kind of pushing things back, and then also the guys here talked me into doing NASA events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jump in and
Yeah.
do some NASA, go through their program, and hopefully get to time trials by the end of the season.
Nice.
Cool.
Well, and honestly, like after looking at your dyno sheets and knowing what power you're making and when the turbo was spooling up and all of those details, it was almost an intervention more than a suggestion.
Yeah.
Like this something needs to change here. We need to make this better for Nigel. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how that comes together and what you think of the car once all that kind of works the way that we hope it will.
Yeah, so we did new suspension and like subframes and control arms and stuff. And that was what I was going to come into the season with, and just change
Okay.
that and kind of stick with the plan. And then now I'm kind of going all in on another, like a new tune on a turbo and some other like supporting mods for it. And
Scope
just
creep.
want to,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing that gets to me is the budget creep more than the scope creep.
Sure.
Because the scope creep is always like, go full race car, do everything you want to do, have fun with it. But then the budget creep kicks in, and I'm like, oh, can I actually do any of this? Can I do this and go racing? Like, that's the thing, is where I want to get all these new parts installed, and am I going to do it in time to go racing? And if I do it in time to go racing, can I afford to then go racing? So hopefully I've got that all sorted out.
Yeah, that is always the
And-
challenge, keeping all of those things in line. But yeah, I think you've been like probably more thorough than any of us here about working all of those details out. So I think that it, more than maybe anything else, gives you a very high chance of success.
Spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets, yes.
Last two.
Um, And then apart from NASA, just doing the probably the Grid Life Alpine Horizon, and
Mhm.
seeing what other local stuff I can get into.
And this the really exciting thing is, it seems like this year there's going to be a good amount of local opportunities. I
Yeah.
think I think this year 2021 should be a lot. I don't think you can call anything normal yet. I think we got 5 years before we can call anything normal. But I think it should be a lot more similar to what it was before everything got shut down this year. I don't think it'll be exactly the same, but I think it's going to be a lot closer. I think there's going to be more events and less rescheduling, schedule shuffling, it seems like.
And if everything goes right, and I still have money at the end of the year, the Subi Challenge out in California,
Ooh,
they're running stuff in October and November at Button Willow, and I am pretty sure Button Willow is opening a second track on the same like premises. And
Okay.
so one of their events is at Button Willow, and the other event is at New Button Willow. And I'd
oh man,
really love to get out there and try out the new track. It looks pretty cool.
that'd be fun, for sure. Nice, man. Lots to
Speaking
look
of
forward to this year.
speaking of new tracks, we should maybe not this next year, but maybe the year after, that new Ozarks track.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Oh,
that
yeah.
thing looks pretty amazing.
Too
It would
bad
be it would be really fun to get the crew out there and go try that new track out.
they should have left it dirt. It looked
Nah.
good. It looked good in dirt. I don't know why you guys need such a handicap all the time.
we just really need to get you some better tarmac suspension so you can come play with us.
Yeah.
Quit being so selfish with your dirt.
Tires.
Actually, a friend of mine just bought a, I don't know, some anime car.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, there you go. Maybe he'll let you drive it.
Yeah.
There you go.
there you go.
Especially if I
You gotta
talk
get
track-
that left hand shifting engaged.
Nah, yeah, it's okay. I'll try it. You talked me into it, Ryan.
Yeah, twisted your arm, huh?
Oh man, that was tough to watch. Jeez, a lot
Y'all
of
know me.
convincing
I'm
there.
not stingy with my stuff, so.
That's awesome.
I am.
Yeah,
It's 'cause
honestly, I
it's
think
retro.
this year, if we can just get to the track a handful of times, it's going to be a huge win.
Yeah.
I think that there's good likelihood that that'll happen.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's
So I got distracted by Scotty doing work back there, and I want to hear actually how Viet all-wheel drives that
A
car.
Civic?
Like, what do you do to do that? Is there a lot of cutting and welding, or the Subaru underneath it, or what?
Subaru.
No.
Nah,
Super
Wait.
power.
nah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Nah.
It's pretty
Nah.
much a bunch of CRV stuff.
Okay.
I know they've got kits for it. It's gonna be all bolt-in mostly. K-swap
Bolt-in?
stuff
Wow.
K-swap stuff, I'm gonna have to cut the original mounts out, mounting points,
Okay.
and then
That's it, though?
that's pretty much it.
Why aren't there
It's-
more?
Why aren't there more?
Yeah.
There are quite a few out there. It's actually starting to make a big push, and they're really making a big push in like the all-wheel drive Civic drag racers,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they are
Okay.
just stomping on
Sure.
a lot of these other cars, because they come in at like 1,800, 2,000 pounds with a K-swap making 800 horsepower in an all-wheel drive Civic, and just breaking hearts. But there's what is it, the K-Sport in all-wheel drive Integra?
I believe that's that
Is it out
black
of-
one.
That black one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only one I know that's doing time attack
Right.
Huh.
as far as all-wheel drive K-swap goes.
I mean,
So are they using the KCRV stuff, or is it like a blend between the B and the KCRV stuff, or?
It's mainly the K stuff. I mean, you could do all-wheel drive with the B series, and then
Yeah.
the D series rear end. What is that called? The
The
Civic.
Wago van.
Yeah, the Wago van.
Yeah.
Supposedly that's stronger than the K series stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I figured a lot of those weren't as popular because of the RDX is the most robust K series all-wheel drive car that they've had, right? And that stuff is
Right.
nothing like the rest of the stuff. Right?
Exactly.
Really? Okay.
And then like if you're doing like the B series stuff, D series stuff,
Uh-huh.
there's not a whole lot of Wago vans. you
Yeah.
know?
Okay.
So it's just limited parts, right?
Yeah.
Well,
And then
so
getting
just-
a 5-speed manual all-wheel drive, that's
Yeah.
even harder, you know?
and tell
Yeah.
people what you mean by a Wago van.
That's just what they called those Civics, right?
Right.
The
Yeah.
Civic hatchbacks.
This is
of
the Civic
90s.
wagon. The
Yeah.
all-wheel drive Civic, or the I guess, would you call it all-wheel drive, or is it four-wheel drive?
It's real time 4-wheel drive, right?
Yeah.
Because
Real time.
you could turn it on
It's
and
weird.
off, right?
Well, There's no, like,
not from
switch.
the end cab. Yeah.
no.
On the transmission, you could though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was
It wa-
that Civic wagon. So it was like a. Yeah, it was definitely a
80s.
wagon. It wasn't a hatchback.
Late 80s,
Yeah.
early 90s.
Early 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And tall wagon too. Not like your typical hatchback. Like it was. It was a couple inches taller than just like your standard hatch
Yeah.
wagon or
It
hatch
actually looks-
EG or EF.
EF.
That's like a whole world.
You have
I
one
know
of those.
nothing about.
It's funny
Yeah, I
because
have
like
an EF.
you used
Is-
to, at least around here, I remember seeing them for a while, and now you just don't ever see them hardly ever around. But that was
People are
that,
buying them up to make them drag cars.
That's right. That's right. They're chopping them up and putting them into Civics and Integras.
Yeah.
Huh.
Man.
So sad though.
Well, and do you think that there's, I mean, the K-Swap makes plenty of sense just for power and versatility, modern parts choices. There's a lot of big, from like the B series engines, there's a lot of improvements in the K series. So there's an advantage to that. But the
Oh, yeah.
all-wheel drive system, I mean, is that like, which are you more set on, the K-Swap or the all-wheel drive?
All of it.
All of it. Okay.
More the K-Swap, just because it's
Yeah.
easier to make 300 horsepower NA.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
So much
Yeah.
easier.
And
But
then,
also, there's another
Yeah, you can
part to it.
literally add to cart 300 horsepower, click,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
bolt it
Yeah.
together.
Exactly.
What?
Yeah. Easy as that. Just a
Mhm.
Like-
click.
Hands? What are you doing? Timing?
So, yeah, so basically it's like you can take a K24 short block, right? And you can literally, and this is the baller route is, I don't want to mention any names, but Skunk 2 has a horsepower package. It's basically like a ported head, valve springs, retainers, valves, cams. You install it with their header and intake, and on a K24, and those things make 300 wheel all day. Normally
Just- wow.
aspirated.
Just a little bit of airflow.
Yeah, I mean it's thousands of dollars for a brand new head and stuff, but
Sure.
I mean it's crazy that it's not like, if you think about what it takes to make a B series make or an H series make 300 wheel horsepower, it's a lot of work, like a lot
That's
of
like
labor.
Any
You
engine.
know, and with the K series, it's literally
and
just
money.
like you can bolt it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any four-cylinder
money. Yeah,
naturally
and money.
aspirated engine to make 300 wheel horsepower. I mean, it's crazy that it's that much of a formula at this point.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, and you're saying that the all-wheel drive is as much of a draw as the power, though.
Yeah, I just want to see how it does on the track, honestly.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
me.
Gotcha.
I just
You
like
won't have
building
problems
shit,
with those rear
honestly.
tires warming up.
Vin's just jealous because he's hanging out with a bunch of all-wheel drive guys, and he wants to come play with us.
Yeah.
It was
Little
bound
bit.
to happen sooner or
Little
later.
bit.
A little bit.
I'm not gonna lie. As a all-wheel drive Subaru owner and having been a Honda fanboy for decades, I think I might be a little bit scared of the K-swap all-wheel drive Civic.
That's wild. Yeah.
You know, like those things could be a real. I mean, it's a similar drivetrain layout as an Evo, right? And then you've got all the benefits of a K series, you know, over an Evo engine. Just how much abuse can those drivetrains take?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. K series transmissions are kind of garbage.
Oh, man.
But you
Yeah.
know, that's the trade-off, right? Something has to.
Right.
You threw out like 2,000 pounds a second ago. Can they really be that light? Somebody said that.
Scotty said that, but I mean, like, if I gut the shit out of it, probably can get pretty close.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That'll
definitely
help
gonna
preserve
be-
the drivetrain.
The K series is definitely going to be lighter than my H.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
Well,
That's-
Ryan, what is your little CRV weigh?
My little Civic is like somewhere in the neighborhood of like 2,150 pounds. I mean, my Prelude, remember we brought the Prelude in that one day?
Yeah.
Subwoofer, full interior, carbureted, cast iron block, and that thing weighed like 2,105 pounds, like
Yeah.
stock.
Damn.
So, I mean,
That was a first-gen Prelude, right?
it was a second gen,
Second gen,
1987. Yeah.
So, yeah, from the 80s before they started throwing all sorts of crazy weight at the cars with
Yeah.
all that
Sunroof.
silly safety stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Who needs all that?
Yeah. I mean, no cage, right? So that helps.
Yeah.
But cool.
Yeah, the all-wheel drive and the K will add a little bit of weight, I'm sure. But I mean, those Civics, they're just the recipe to make them so light is just, I mean, there's everything's out there for them. Carbon roofs, fiberglass roofs, carbon trunks, fiberglass trunks, fenders, speed holes. I mean, if you had a front-wheel drive Honda, you don't even need anything past the B-pillar. You just get some little caster tires on there, you know?
Yep. Yeah, we got an office chair here. Just take the wheels off of that. Done. Man. Well,
Okay.
that's a hell of an interesting project. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Suddenly, Viet's got the most interesting car.
It's
Yeah.
weird, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Man. Yeah, that's wild. That would yeah. Cannot wait to see how that comes together for sure.
Yeah. Just dropping bombs and podcasts over here.
That's right. Absolutely.
I guess.
I guess.
I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I
It's
think
just a K swap, you know?
like I feel like I want a daily one now. That seems great. So
Yeah. Why not?
I mean,
Cool.
I'll let you drive it if it's ever done.
all right.
I mean, I'll let whoever drive it. If they can fit in the seat, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I could fit it in any seat, bud.
Got no pelvis, just butt.
Just but
Fold in your hips.
that's
Like
right.
a taco.
Just- yeah.
If I could sit in Scott Crouch's seat, anyone could fit in anything.
Yeah, I don't fit.
touche. I don't fit either. That's
No?
that's fair. Yeah, if you can do that, you can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, cool.
I'm a tiny Asian dude, though.
I mean,
And these seats are kind of tight for me.
Have you
And
seen
those-
that car
yeah.
with the Japanese anime soundtrack that just bumps out of it? That thing was
Nah.
built for tiny Asians.
Okay.
geez.
Oh man.
Maybe
Oh,
push it past just our explicit E at this point.
Yes. Man.
I'm gonna
Well,
get that
so-
snowflake warning.
So, John.
Yeah.
What's the plan with your car? When are you going to get out to the track?
Oh yeah.
It's a hell of a question. I was hoping nobody would notice that. No, my goal this year is to get the car sorted and get out to the track at least a handful of times. The yellow WRX. So Yeah, nothing fancy, not trying to compete. I just want to get back out there and just get back into driving again. So it hasn't been in the cards of late. And so, yeah, honestly, like if I could have 2 or 3 track days this year where it's just a fun day at the track, I'm going to consider that a massive victory. So that's where I'm going to start, and we're just going to build on that once we can get there.
And when was the last time you actually went to the track?
I could not tell you. Probably
Was
2 or
I
3
there?
years ago.
Was it the day I dive bombed you a couple times?
Dang, Tasso.
Ooh.
It probably was. Yeah, because
A
it
couple
was.
years ago.
Yeah, it was like a couple years ago. Yeah, because I only did 2 sessions because then I started like the car was smoking on startup and had that I had that plumbing issue with the air oil separator, right? I basically was not getting enough scavenging the AOS. So yeah,
Yeah.
basically been driving the car a while and everything seems to be better, but I'm gonna dive back into the PCV system a little bit more. I'm actually gonna go put on the dual catch can setup and take the AOS off and try and like just finally get to the bottom of whatever was plaguing me there and just that's it. Just get back and drive the car. That's all I want to do.
Yeah. Well,
So,
good.
yeah.
You should show some of those big fat slicks on your Forerunner or whatever it is, Lexus.
Yeah.
that you
No,
have.
he has the Beamer.
He's got
You
the
take
Yeah,
the 3 Series out.
Yeah,
I've
whatever.
been trying to get him
Yeah.
to take that 335i out for years, and he just won't
Yeah.
do it.
No,
It's got some stuff done to it, right?
it does. It does. Yeah. That's
I
true.
mean, you take an M55 to the track and you have M55 problems, or M54 problems, but I think it
Yeah.
could suffice. I mean, you still have a stock power tune-up option, right?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
go back
No,
to stock power, yeah.
yeah, and I can put back the sum mapping. The biggest thing is just I don't really have anything other than the one set of wheels and tires for that car. So I really don't want to like burn up the all seasons that I just daily drive it on. That's part of it. And then the other thing too is like I've put all this energy into the WRX to make it into a track car. I'd really rather
Right.
focus my energies there versus like start like working on the BMW to make it more of a track car when I've just let the rear diff, it would probably be something that I'd want to address just because it's an open rear diff and it's got that
Yeah.
E diff, which is not really that it's not what it advertised to me. And then just cooling, that's the concern
Yeah.
with the N54 engine when you drive it on track in anger for a prolonged time. It's just keeping the oil cool and everything like that. It's the oil temps start to get hot. Even just in driving up in the mountains, like just even going up a steep incline for a bit. So that's where the Subaru doesn't have those problems, and I've got the racing brakes on it. I've got the wheels for it. It's just like everything else is there for the Subaru. I just need to kind of like get past the last little couple hiccups and just drive the thing. So that's where I want to focus my energies this year.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I tell you, this is probably as good a place to end as any. We've had a great conversation here. Hopefully this records. Hopefully, man, if you've listened to this point and you're still listening and there's something to listen to, all has gone well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, well, that honestly just couldn't be happier. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But we're going to give it a shot and get it out there. But yeah. So thanks very much for listening. As always, we greatly appreciate your support. Follow everybody here if you can. Ryan at DSX Motorsports, Tasso, OTC Racing, Nigel, WRX Buddy, Viet is 919 Garage, and then Scotty is Skahate on the Instagrams. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by Flatirons Tuning. So if you like what we're doing, if you like these conversations, if you like us putting this out there for you to listen to, head over to Flatirons Tuning. If there's anything there that you might need, that support goes a long way with letting us come back here and make this content for you. So yeah, just thanks you guys for making the time and coming out and or actually staying in and Zooming. But yeah, thanks for trying this out, and hopefully this all works. And thanks to everybody for listening. And yeah, until next time, as always, stay tuned with Flatirons Tuning. Sweet.